The rain hammered against the cracked windows of Detroit's abandoned warehouse district, where legitimate business had died decades ago, but other kinds of commerce thrived in the shadows. Marcus Chen pulled his coat tighter as he navigated the narrow alleys between towering concrete buildings, their walls covered in graffiti that glowed faintly in the perpetual twilight of the underground city. At 32, Marcus carried himself with the disciplined posture of his military days, though those had ended 3 years ago when an explosion on Kepler Station had shattered more than just his left leg. The limp was barely noticeable now, but the memories of watching his unit die while he could do nothing still haunted every step he took through these dangerous streets. Earth in 2157 was not the unified planet the old stories promised. First contact with alien civilizations had brought wonders and horrors in equal measure. While the surface cities gleamed with advanced technology and interstellar trade, places like underground Detroit festered with the darker side of galactic commerce. Here, desperate humans and aliens alike sought opportunities that existed nowhere else. Marcus made his living in the fighting pits, using his military training and medical knowledge to survive brutal matches that entertained crowds hungry for violence. It was honest work in a dishonest place, and it kept him fed while he figured out what to do with the rest of his life. Tonight was supposed to be simple. Check the market for medical supplies, avoid trouble, return to his cramped apartment above the noodle shop. But as he passed the slave market's back entrance, something made him stop. The Calarian caught his attention immediately. Even chained and broken, she was magnificent. 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin that shifted between deep purple and black like flowing oil. She belonged to a warrior race known throughout the galaxy for their honor and strength. Her elongated head bore the distinctive ridge markings of the noble caste, though now those markings were dulled by malnutrition and despair. What stopped Marcus cold was not her appearance, but her eyes. Golden and intelligent, they held a depth of pain he recognized from his own reflection. This was not just another piece of merchandise. This was someone who had fallen from great heights. Their eyes met across the crowded market square. Humans and aliens of a dozen species haggled and traded around them. But in that moment, the world narrowed to just 2 beings who had both lost everything. The Calarian's 4 arms hung limp in their energy shackles, but she straightened slightly when she saw him looking. For a heartbeat, Marcus saw not a slave, but a soldier, recognizing another soldier. Then her lips moved, forming words barely audible above the market's chaos. "Please buy me, human," she whispered, her voice carrying the musical tones of her species despite its brokenness. "I have nothing left to offer but my service." Marcus felt something twist in his chest, the same instinct that had made him dive into burning wreckage to save his squad mates, the same stubborn refusal to leave anyone behind that had defined his military career. He should walk away. He had barely enough credits for rent, let alone purchasing another being's freedom. But those golden eyes held such desperate hope, such carefully contained dignity, that walking away felt like abandoning his humanity itself. The slave trader, a greasy human with augmented arms and predatory smile, noticed Marcus's interest immediately. "Ah, you have excellent taste, friend. This one's special." Former palace guard, trained in 17 forms of combat, a bit damaged but still functional. He gestured casually at the Calarian as if she couldn't hear every word. 20,000 credits, the trader announced. Normally worth 50, but she's been difficult to move. Most buyers prefer more cooperative merchandise. Marcus's entire savings amounted to 8,000 credits, but he found himself negotiating anyway, driven by something deeper than logic. After an hour of tense bargaining and promises of future payments, he walked away with ownership papers and a debt that would take years to repay. The Kellarian followed him through the rain-slicked streets, her chains replaced by a simple tracking device. She moved like liquid shadow despite her size, each step precise and controlled, even in her weakened state. "My name is Zarakaf," she said quietly as they climbed the narrow stairs to his apartment. Former palace guard, trained in 17 forms of combat, a bit damaged, but still functional. He gestured casually at the Kellarian, as if she couldn't hear every word. 20,000 credits, the trader announced. Normally worth 50, but she's been difficult to move. Most buyers prefer more cooperative merchandise. This is definitely an unreliable precedent. "I was third guardian of the Crystal Throne, sworn protector of the royal house of Veltar." Marcus unlocked his door, gesturing her inside the tiny space that suddenly felt even smaller. Marcus Chen, former combat medic, current nobody. Over the next few days, Zara's story emerged in fragments. Her homeworld had been consumed by civil war, brother fighting brother over ancient grievances. She had remained loyal to the rightful queen until the very end, fighting a desperate last stand at the palace gates while evacuation ships fled into space. "I held the throne room for 6 hours, she said, staring at her 4 hands as if seeing blood that would never wash away. 6 hours, while my queen and her children escaped. When the rebels finally broke through, they found only me. The betrayal came later. Captured and sentenced to execution, Zara had been sold instead to off-world slavers by her own cousin, a rebel commander who saw profit in her pain. 3 years of captivity had followed, passed from owner to owner like a piece of broken furniture. Marcus listened without judgment, recognizing the weight of survivors' guilt in her words. He had carried similar burdens since Kepler Station, the endless questions of why he had lived when better people died. Trust came slowly. Zara flinched when Marcus moved too quickly, her warrior instincts twisted by years of abuse. She ate sparingly, as if expecting each meal to be her last. At night, she stood guard by the window, unable to truly rest despite her exhaustion. Marcus began teaching her about human customs, simple things like privacy and personal space that slavery had stripped away. In return, she shared fragments of Kellarian philosophy, ancient wisdom about honor and duty that helped him understand her rigid sense of purpose. The breakthrough came when Marcus collapsed during a particularly brutal fight in the pits. A lucky blow had reopened old wounds, and he lay bleeding in the alley behind the arena while spectators filed past, unwilling to help. Zara found him there. Without hesitation, she lifted his broken body with her 4 powerful arms and carried him home, her golden eyes blazing with protective fury. As she tended his wounds with surprising gentleness, Marcus realized something fundamental had changed between them. "Why?" he asked through gritted teeth as she cleaned a deep cut. "You could have left. Your tracking device doesn't work that far from the apartment." Zara paused, her hands steady on the medical supplies. "Because you are the first being in 3 years to treat me as a person rather than property. Honor demands I protect that gift. Recovery took weeks, during which Marcus and Zara developed an unlikely partnership. Unable to fight in his condition, Marcus faced financial ruin. The apartment rent was overdue, and food grew scarce as his medical bills mounted. Zara surprised him by suggesting a solution. "Teach me human combat forms," she said. "I will fight in your place until you heal." "Absolutely not," Marcus replied immediately. "I didn't buy your freedom just to send you back into slavery." "This would not be slavery," Zara explained patiently. "This would be choice, partnership. You have given me the first real home I have known since my world burned. Let me help preserve it." The logic was sound, but Marcus struggled with the ethics. Finally, Zara's quiet dignity won him over. If she chose to fight, who was he to deny her agency? Training began immediately. Marcus taught Zara the brutal, efficient techniques of human military combat, while she shared the flowing, four-armed fighting styles of her people. They practiced in the abandoned warehouse behind his building, their movements creating a deadly dance that blended two warrior traditions. "Your species fights with such focused aggression," Zara observed after a particularly intense sparring session. "No wasted motion, no consideration for honor or ceremony, just survival." "We learn to fight from necessity," Marcus explained, wrapping his hands in protective cloth. "Humans had to overcome bigger, stronger, faster enemies. We developed tactics based on adaptability and stubborn refusal to quit." Zara's golden eyes gleamed with understanding. "That explains much about your character." As days turned to weeks, their relationship deepened beyond simple partnership. Marcus found himself looking forward to their evening conversations, when Zara would share stories of her homeworld's twin moons and crystalline cities. She spoke of honor codes and ancient ceremonies, of a civilization that valued duty and sacrifice above personal gain. In return, Marcus told her about human resilience, about a species that had clawed its way from primitive hunters to spacefaring civilization through sheer determination. He spoke of the friends he had lost, the weight of command decisions, and the guilt that haunted his dreams. "You carry your fallen with you," Zara observed one evening as they watched the city lights flicker beyond the window. "In Calarian culture, we believe the honored dead guide our actions. Your pain proves your love for them." "Sometimes the weight feels too heavy," Marcus admitted. "Like I'm drowning in what I couldn't prevent." Zara's four hands gestured in a complex pattern he was learning to recognize as a blessing. "Then let me help carry that burden. Warriors should not bear such weight alone." When Marcus finally healed enough to return to the fighting circuit, he and Zara made an unprecedented request. Instead of individual matches, they wanted to fight as a team against multiple opponents. The arena masters were skeptical, but the novelty drew massive crowds. Betting ran wild on the strange partnership between a scarred human veteran and a towering alien warrior. Their first match was against three enhanced humans, criminals who had traded humanity for mechanical augmentations. The fight should have been impossible to win. But Marcus and Zara moved like parts of a single organism. Where Marcus was fast and precise, Zara was powerful and graceful. Her forearms created a defensive web that protected them both, while Marcus struck at weak points with surgical precision. They won decisively, and the crowd roared its approval. For the first time since her capture, Zara allowed herself to smile. "We make an effective team," she said as they left the arena, prize money heavy in Marcus's pocket. Yeah, Marcus agreed, feeling something warm and unfamiliar in his chest. We really do. Success brought unwanted notice. After their 5th consecutive victory, a representative from the Crimson Syndicate approached them with an offer that wasn't really an offer at all. Viktor Kozlov was a man who had surgically removed his humanity piece by piece, replacing flesh with chrome until only cruelty remained. His cybernetic eyes fixed on Zara with proprietary interest. Impressive display, he said, his voice artificially modulated to inspire fear. I represent certain parties interested in acquiring your Calarian's contract. We're prepared to offer triple what you paid, plus compensation for training costs. Marcus stepped protectively in front of Zara, though she probably could have broken Viktor in half without effort. She's not for sale. We're partners, not owner and property. Viktor's mechanical laugh grated like grinding gears. Everything is for sale, Mr. Chen. The only question is whether you accept reasonable compensation or wait for us to take what we want anyway. The threat was clear. The Crimson Syndicate controlled most illegal fighting circuits in this part of the city. They had resources Marcus couldn't match, and violence he couldn't fight alone. You have 72 hours to reconsider, Viktor said, metal fingers drumming against his artificial spine. After that, your partnership becomes irrelevant. That night, Marcus and Zara sat in their tiny apartment, planning what might be their final fight. The Syndicate wouldn't wait long, and running would only postpone the inevitable. There is another option, Zara said quietly. In Kellarian culture, we have a concept called the Trial of Worth. Single combat between representatives. Winner takes all. Marcus shook his head. Viktor won't accept a fair fight. He'll come with a dozen armed thugs and superior firepower. Then we must ensure the fight happens on our terms, Zara replied, her golden eyes gleaming with tactical intelligence. The old subway tunnels beneath the warehouse district. Narrow spaces that limit numbers advantage. Multiple escape routes if things go wrong. You're talking about urban warfare against a criminal organization, Marcus said. This isn't the fighting pits. People will die. Zara's 4 hands moved in the blessing gesture again. People are already dying in their slave markets and fighting circuits. Sometimes honor demands we stand against evil, regardless of personal cost. The Syndicate came in force, as expected. 20 armed humans and aliens descended into the tunnel system, hunting for 2 fugitives who refused to submit to their authority. What they found instead was a carefully orchestrated nightmare. Marcus and Zara had spent 3 days preparing the battlefield, using his military engineering knowledge and her tactical experience. Every corridor became a trap, every junction a killing field designed to turn superior numbers into a disadvantage. The first squad ran into tripwires that brought down sections of tunnel ceiling. The second found themselves caught in crossfire between positions they couldn't see. Marcus moved like a ghost through service passages, striking with precision and vanishing before return fire could find him. Zara was magnificent and terrible, a 4-armed angel of death flowing through the darkness. Her warrior training merged with human tactical doctrine to create something entirely new and utterly devastating. Viktor himself led the final assault, his cybernetic body shrugging off injuries that would have killed an unaugmented human. He cornered them in the main junction, artificial muscles giving him inhuman strength. But he had never faced the combined fury of human determination and Calarian honor. Marcus provided distraction while Zara closed distance, her 4 arms working in perfect coordination to dismantle Viktor's mechanical body piece by piece. When it was over, the Crimson Syndicate's local operations lay in ruins. Word would spread that some things couldn't be bought or taken by force. 6 months after the tunnel battle, Marcus and Zara operated from a new base of operations. The abandoned subway station had been converted into a refuge for escaped slaves and trafficking victims, funded by their fighting circuit earnings and supported by a growing network of sympathizers. Dr. Sarah Williams, a former military surgeon who had lost her license for treating criminals, ran the medical facility. Chen Wei, Marcus's distant cousin and gifted hacker, handled security and communications. Even some of their former opponents from the fighting pits had joined the cause, drawn by the simple idea that freedom shouldn't be a commodity. 17 rescues this month, Marcus reported during their weekly planning meeting. The syndicate's replacement leadership is being more careful, but they're still operating. Zara studied the holographic map, displaying known trafficking routes through the city's underground. Her tactical mind constantly worked to stay ahead of their enemies. We need to expand our network. The problem is bigger than one city can handle. She was right, of course. For every person they saved, dozens more remained trapped in systems that treated sentient beings as property. But Marcus had learned that you fought the battles you could win, while building strength for the ones you couldn't. Late that night, Marcus stood on the observation platform overlooking their refuge. Below, rescued humans and aliens worked together, sharing meals and stories across species barriers. Children laughed in languages he couldn't understand, but recognized as universal expressions of joy. Zara joined him, her 4 arms carrying steaming cups of tea that actually tasted good. Dr. Williams had taught her the art of proper brewing, one of many human customs she had embraced while maintaining her own cultural identity. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked, accepting the warm cup gratefully. "Choosing this life instead of finding passage home?" Zara considered the question with characteristic seriousness. "My homeworld no longer exists as I knew it. The war scattered my people across the galaxy, and the Calarian Empire fell to its own hatred." She gestured toward the refugees below. "This has become my people now, these broken ones who refuse to stay broken." Marcus nodded, understanding more than he could express. "Sometimes I think about my old unit, what they would say about all this." "They would say you honored their sacrifice by saving others," Zara replied without hesitation. "In Calarian culture, we believe the dead speak through our actions. Your friends live in every person we rescue, every act of compassion we choose over convenience." As if summoned by their conversation, a small figure approached. Maya Santos was 8 years old, rescued from a trafficking ring 3 weeks ago. She had attached herself to Marcus and Zara with the fierce loyalty only children could possess. "Uncle Marcus, Aunt Zara," she said, using the titles they had never asked for, but treasured nonetheless. "William says my mama might be in the next group coming from Chicago." Marcus knelt to her level, his soldier's heart softening as it always did around the children. "You're doing everything we can to find her, kiddo. I promise." Maya hugged him fiercely, then surprised Zara by wrapping small arms around one of her 4 hands. The mighty Calarian warrior, who had faced armies without flinching, looked utterly bewildered by this simple gesture of affection. "You're the best family ever," Maya declared, with a child's absolute certainty before skipping away to rejoin her friends. Marcus and Zara stood in comfortable silence, watching their unusual family go about the business of building new lives from the ashes of old ones. "You know what I learned?" Marcus said finally. Family isn't about blood or species, or the circumstances that bring you together. It's about choosing to care for each other when the world tells you not to. Zara's golden eyes reflected the soft lights of their refuge. In the palace, I protected the royal bloodline because duty demanded it. Here, I protect people who share nothing with me except the determination to survive. Yet this feels more like true purpose than anything I did in service to the crown. Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of old guilt finally beginning to lift. My unit died because I couldn't save them, but maybe I can save others in their honor. Maybe that's what moving forward really means. Perhaps, Zara agreed, the greatest victory is not conquering enemies, but creating the kind of world where enemies choose to become friends instead. Below them, their impossible family continued to grow, one rescued soul at a time. In a universe that often seemed designed to crush compassion, they had built something beautiful from broken pieces. The lesson was simple but profound. Love multiplies when shared. Hope grows stronger under pressure. And sometimes, the best family is the one you choose to build together, one act of kindness at a time. In the end, Marcus realized, buying Zara's freedom had actually freed them both.